If you have never been to, or even worse, never heard of the Baviaanskloof before, then you are really missing out. And that's why I've made this 3-part series documenting my journey through the entire Baviaanskloof Mega Reserve, from west to east, along a couple hundred kilometers of wild and rugged roads. Baviaanskloof translates from Dutch to Valley of Baboons, and as the name suggests, it is a long valley flanked on both sides by mountain ranges. The Kruger Mountains to the south and the Baviaans Mountains to the north. This is an extremely tough area to traverse with only one way in and one way out, and an area of over 500,000 hectares or 1.2 million acres of protected land. The famous road engineer Thomas Bain built the Baviaanskloof Road with its many technical mountain passes and river crossings in the late 1800s, creating access to the valley for the first time and connecting the towns of Pt.1 in the east and Willowmore in the west. And in this series we are going to be traveling through history and exploring one of the wildest and most iconic trails that Southern Africa has to offer. I happen to live only about an hour's drive from the eastern entrance to the Baviaanskloof. However, Nicole and I are going to be tackling this road from west to east, and that means a long drive to get to the western entrance. The easy way to do this would be to follow a tar road around the mountains for an easy 3 or 4 hour drive. However, we have decided to take the road less travelled and do almost the entire route on gravel back roads, taking us across the beautiful Antoniesberg pass along the way. Within half an hour of leaving home, the tar is replaced with gravel and tyres are deflated to 1.5 bar for the rough roads ahead. So, last minute change of plans. Originally we were going to take the tar road around the top of the mountains, which would have been quicker, but it would have also been a little bit more boring. And it's turning out to be a beautiful day. Sun's starting to come out. So let's take the road less travelled and do the Klipspringer road, which is basically a gravel road all the way to where we need to go. 4.5 hours basically of gravel road. Should be fun. Hopefully we get to do a bit of a river crossing and some nice mountain passes. Nice to just change plans last minute. Our journey begins with a long but well-graded gravel road through the Elands River Valley, which takes us through the greenest section of our trip today with plenty of eucalyptus trees and other evergreen vegetation. There are a number of very well-known 4x4 trails in this area, but our focus is not on these today. We have bigger plans and we pass on by. Up ahead we soon see the Coxcomb, a mountain that we'll be passing right by on our way through the Antoniesberg Pass, and as we keep on moving, the mountain begins to grow closer and closer until it looms right up in front of us and the road begins to deteriorate a bit as we near the Klipspringer turnoff. We stop for a quick break at the top of the hill to just admire the view in front of us. From here we can see the Gamtoos Valley in the south, where we'll be exiting the Baviaanskloof in 2 days' time, and both Mac Mountain of the Baviaans range and the Coxcomb of the Groot Winterhoek range, which we'll be passing through shortly. Here is a map for context. The Groot River, which translates to Big River, pretty boring name, creates a natural gateway between the two mountain ranges and allows us to pass through. It's a road that very few people know about. This should be fun. The Klipspringer road with the Antoniesberg Pass is a private road with public access, which means that the road is not maintained by the government and therefore can be in pretty bad condition sometimes. The good old gate rule applies here. If you find the gate open, leave it open. If you find it closed, close it behind you. In this clip you can see Mac Mountain to the left and the Coxcomb to the right. The Coxcomb being the higher of the two at just under 1,800 meters above sea level. The remains of an old road seen winding down the hill here is the Osseberg Trail, a 4x4 trail connecting the Baviaanskloof to the Grootrivierpoort, but sadly this route had to close a few years ago due to visitors abusing the trail and leaving litter behind. A real pity, I think, but we move on. So the road that we're on now is quite an interesting road. It's a private road with public access. So they ask you not to leave the road because you're going through private property, but they've made the road public because it's one of the few roads that actually goes across this mountain range. These mountains here with the coxcomb to the east are the Grootwinterhoek Mountains, and the mountains to the west are the Baviaanskloof Mountains. And the Groot River runs between the two mountain ranges and creates a natural gap where this road has been built. So we're kind of just having fun and going the long way through here instead of going around the back of the mountains. We actually will be joining up with the Groot River later on this Baviaanskloof trip on the very last day on our way back, and it will look very different there. It'll look much greener, but let's keep going. We're coming to a nice technical section here. Wish I could send the drone up, but it's a bit too windy, so let's get the action cam underneath the vehicle so you can see these nice ruts we have to get through. A lot of erosion happening here. Okay, well, I think it's pretty clear we're not driving down this. It's the joys of exploring a new road. Sometimes the rain washes it away. I would definitely not be able to drive this. So I saw there was a little turn off back there. Let's try go back onto a different road and see if we can bypass this. But yep, not driving down here anytime soon. As the road starts to wind down the hill, it becomes more and more eroded as water from the mountains obviously gathers down here during heavy rainfall and washes down the roads. With decent clearance though, it's pretty easy if you take it slow and choose a good line. After about 2 hours on the road, we arrive at the top of the Antoniesberg pass and see the Groot River down below for the first time. The river is not flowing very strongly, so crossing will be easy, but at this point, let's just hit record on the action camera and send the drone up. No words can describe this, so let's let the scenery do the talking. Oh my goodness, this place is so beautiful. Done this drive once before, but I'm really glad I'm doing it again. Sun's just come out, it's just starting to warm up. It was miserable earlier, but down here in the valley it's a little bit more sheltered. Yeah, just a beautiful road, completely isolated. I think we've seen one car come through here in the whole 116 kilometers we've driven so far, and that one car had a rooftop tent on, and we're basically doing the same stuff as us, so that's really cool. But yep, coming down here, we're starting to go more into the sort of Karoo thicket biome. Earlier it was sort of a little bit greener. We had some blue gum trees, kind of looked more like Australia, well, eastern side of Australia, and now it's looking more like the western side of Australia, much drier. Yeah, little thorn trees everywhere, and we're about to cross the river now, so hopefully there is some water flowing. It'd be nice to do a bit of a river crossing, but it's been so dry lately, pretty much a drought, and I don't think there's much water flowing, and that's going to be the same for the whole of this trip, I think, unless we get a bit of a downpour later. But should be fun. Let's do it, and I'll chat to you guys later. Emerging on the northern side of the pass, we are met with a transformation of scenery as dry, dusty plains stretch out in front of us, and we catch sight of the northern side of the Baviaanskloof mountains in the distance, which we'll be driving parallel with for the next few hours on our way to the town of Willowmore. Well, the road is nice and smooth now on this northern side. I'm guessing just because they get so much less rain up here, so there's less erosion of the road. So we're going to just floor it. I mean, we're driving between 80 and 100 k's per hour on these dirt roads. They're very well graded, nice and smooth, even though we're in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to hit it and try to get to Willowmore, which is the town where we'll refuel and possibly just get some supplies before heading down south into the Baviaanskloof. Really excited to come from the western side. Never done this before, so it should be fun. The road eventually changes from gravel to a single track cement road, one of the straightest and most boring roads I've ever been on, but we inch slowly closer to Willowmore, and eventually it shows up on our map. With a couple 100 kilometers ahead with no fuel stops, we pull over to fill up with diesel, but we don't waste any time getting back on the road. Nuwekloof Pass is the first pass that we're going to do, so we'll probably send the drone up for that. It should be really cool. But yeah, rain's starting to come down, so maybe that it starts to get a bit wet from here, but we'll see how it goes. And it's now 2 o'clock. Hopefully we get to camp before it's dark. We should, and it should be fun. We are now officially on the road down to the Baviaanskloof, and with absolutely no warning whatsoever, the heavens open up and the temperature plummets about 5 degrees Celsius within the space of a few minutes. As we come to the official western entrance of the Baviaanskloof Mega Reserve, we have some half-melted snow starting to fall, and up ahead, a sign telling us that we are not only entering the World Heritage Site, but also entering the breathtaking Nuwekloof Pass. Should I take a risk and fly the drone in these conditions? Heck yes. The Baviaanskloof sleutel, or key, is the narrow doorway into the vast Baviaanskloof valley, and as we pass through and round the corner facing east, the adventure is truly beginning. We are in the valley now with no way out for the next few days.
Wow, 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 wow. What a way to enter the Baviaanskloof. Never been to the western side before. The farthest I've been is Klipspringer, which is like halfway in, and I always come from the eastern side, which is obviously close to home for me. So first time coming from this side, and that did not disappoint. You would have seen the drone footage. It is insanely beautiful. So this last, I'm guessing probably an hour of driving today is going to be pure bliss. Straight. I don't think we have any passes or anything to do. I think it's just a pretty well graded gravel road, but we've got some awesome rock structures here, so I'm sure we'll get some footage of that as well. But enjoy the ride.
One common theme throughout the Baviaanskloof are the rock structures. This is very much like Arizona or Utah in that you have these massive exposed rocks all over the place with flat valley floors down below. It makes it difficult as a driver to concentrate on what's in front of you because there's so much to see all around you. This western side of the kloof is home to some really cool spots. The Makadart Caves, for example, are a series of caves that have been turned into rustic accommodation, some with just a couple beds and a fireplace, and some that look like full-on houses. There are also hikes to do here, like the Cedar Falls day hike and the Leopard Trail, which takes a few days to complete. There are also many other accommodation options here, so you can never really come through here enough times. There's always something new to discover. We wanted to stay at Makadart Caves, but it was fully booked, so we tried a treehouse close by, but unfortunately that was also booked, so we settled for a quaint little cottage, and after 8 hours of driving, we finally pull up to our destination at the end of day 1, Spearcoat. With the treehouse booked, our home for the night will be Klipspringer Cottage.
So we've arrived. Spearcoat Farm is where we're staying tonight. Just taking the turn off, and I'm pretty glad we're not camping because I think it's going to be very, very cold and possibly rainy overnight. Part of me would like to experience that somewhere deep down inside, but I don't know if Nicole would agree with me. So we're staying in a cottage, nice and cozy, sit around the fire, we can keep warm, and it's a beautiful place, really beautiful. Basically in this nice valley with rocks on all sides, as most places in the Baviaanskloof are. So we'll see how it goes. So our little Klipspringer cottage is awesome, and the rain is on its way down again. Let me show you around. Outside, little fireplace and a spot to sit. And then here's the cottage itself. Probably gonna light this fire up tonight. Inside here, got 2 separate beds here, and then another double bed here. And yes, we've got the heater running. And then we've got a nice little kitchen space here. You know what that means? It means it's time for some coffee. I don't know about you, Nicole, but I am freezing.
I'm waiting for coffee.
It's time to get something warm to drink. And I'm very glad we're not camping tonight. Although tomorrow night I think it's going to be just as cold. And we are camping tomorrow.
That seems pretty toasty.
Well, we've still got a little bit of time until it gets dark. And it stopped raining again. So we were told by the landowner here that there's a little walk from the cottage up the mountain to a little rock where there's a lookout. So we're going to head up here and see what we can find. It's a beautiful farm, so I'm sure the views from the top are pretty awesome, but let's do it. It's a bit chilly, but getting the muscles moving will help. It was good to stretch the legs a bit, but man, it's cold, so let's head back and finish the night with a fire. As always, thanks for watching, but this is only the start of an awesome 3-part series, so make sure you subscribe to this channel and stay tuned because there is plenty more action to come. See you next time.